Hey, welcome to another Mixed Media Monday. Of course, I'm Eric Scott, and I'm here to bring some mixed media to you for your Monday. So today I'm gonna just kind of mix it up. I've been working with a little bit of the water-soluble graphite and regular graphite over the last couple of weeks, but today I'm gonna kind of mix it up a little bit. I've looked through my stash of journal fodder of collage materials and found a couple things to use, and happened to notice something on my shelf that I was like, oh, I haven't done that in a while. And what that is plastic wrap. So, just from the kitchen, that plastic wrap that you use to cover food and things like that. I have a roll in the studio and I haven't used it much. It's an interesting way. It's interesting to use it with paint, with the watercolor. So I'm going to try that, kind of create the base for that, and then work up some layers, and we'll see what kind of develops. All right, so let's go ahead and switch it over and we'll get started. So I've got my paint and I've got my paper. Again, this is that Strathmore 400 series. I got some brushes and I've got some plastic wrap. Now, the key to this is to actually have the plastic wrap so it will wrinkle. That's going to cause some textures. So I'm just going to take a nice brush. Actually, I think I might grab my really big brush because I want to do this quickly and I want to get some paint down. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with this turquoise. So I want to have a lot of water and I want to have a lot of paint. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to paint the whole surface. That's what I like about these little pieces. I don't want the paint drying. I want it to stay wet because I want to take the plastic wrap and now I'm going to let it wrinkle up and I'm going to press it in. And I'm just trying to get it to get stuck to the surface. All right, so you might be able to see how, it's all wrinkled, but where the plastic wrap is touching the paper. So that's where, so these darker spots, that's where the plastic wrap is actually stuck to the paper. The paint kind of pulls underneath it and kind of intensifies, gets darker. And then where it's wrinkled, where it's up off away from the paper, then it's lighter. And so I want to give that a little bit of time to dry. I can't really force it to dry. I can't use the hair dryer, of course, because I might melt the plastic. But what I'm hoping is that the paint will soak into the paper relatively quickly. And that way I can pull it off. I think it's pretty good. There's a couple spots. Let's go ahead and pull it off. Yeah, that worked out really well. And so I just have this texture, so the darker spots are where the plastic was stuck. The lighter spots, the lighter lines, that's all the wrinkles. And then, some of these little dark spots, that's really interesting. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and dry that. So this technique works really well with paper where it's not going to soak in immediately. So sometimes with paper that doesn't have the sizing on it, or that's not meant for the paints, sometimes what will happen is that it will the paint just sort of sucks right into the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and just create some structure. So I've got this very organic, almost looks like cells. So I've got that turquoise. Now I'm using a teal green, kind of feeling a bit of a kind of natural, some blues and greens. I think it might be the weather. So spring it feels like spring around where I live over the last few days. So it's been kind of nice. So hopefully that will continue. So I like how the rectangles at the top and the bottom run off the page. Let me grab. Thought I had another small paintbrush. Oh, there it is. Okay. So the paint that I use is the Derwent Inktense paints. Remember, it's not regular watercolor. It acts like watercolor. So, you know, any technique that you do with watercolor, or almost any technique, you can do with the Inktense paint. But because it's like they're pencils, it's water soluble ink and not really paint. When it dries, it's more permanent. So I wouldn't say it's completely permanent, because sometimes it can lift up, it can fade, but it's definitely more permanent than watercolor. If you use watercolor a lot, you know that when you paint over top of it, the paint can reactivate. And this is a little bit less likely to do that. Okay, let's go ahead and dry that. Okay, so I've got a book page, something I've used many times before, and I'm just going to cut a strip out of it. I love using it to create lines by cutting strips, but then I like the fact that the words create a texture. And then got my glue paper here. So I like this as kind of a balance, counterbalance to the rectangles that I did earlier. I think that's all I'm going to do for that right now. I might come back later with some more text. I don't know. Okay. Like, what did I do with my scissors? So I want to put some of this teal green Inktense pencil over top of this, but I just glued this on, so that glue is still kind of wet. I am going to hit it up with the hair dryer. It just seems to set the glue a little bit better, and the strip will be less likely to peel off whenever I paint over it. Yeah, I just find that the glue, you know, if it's still a little wet, and then you paint over it and the water soaks through, it can, you know, it just kind of peels off a little bit more easily. And I know some folks really don't like glue stick because of that. That can happen. All right, hit it with the hair dryer. All right, I think I'm gonna grab a pen. I have this dark blue. And just do some lines that remind me of maps or waterways. I think I want a little bit more texture in there. So I'm going to pull out my punchinella and maybe a different. Got my deep indigo. I want to go a little bit darker with the color that I'm using. This will tie in nicely with that dark blue ink pen that I just used. Okay, again, brush over that with some water. So I can kind of control how much that fades and blends out. So if I keep going over it, it's going to kind of pick up, it's going to smear, it's going to smudge. So I don't want it to completely disappear, and I don't want to get too much of the blue down. All right, bit of the hair dryer. Okay, so I think I'm ready for some other collage. I had pulled these images out of a little magazine that I picked up from a university campus. It's like one of the student it's all like student work. So it's like stories and poems, kind of like a literary magazine, but has some artwork in it. And I found these images to be kind of interesting. It's kind of like, I think are taken under glass that's wet, but it really gives this kind of watery image. Now, the only problem is that it's pretty big. So let me think about that. I think I'm going to just try to trim it down. I don't want to trim off too much. Now, if I'm going to use this image, I'm going to want to have it over on this side because she's facing that direction. If I put her over here, it's really weird because my eyes are drawn to the space in front of the face because she's looking that direction. And so it feels really odd. So it feels like it needs to be over here. I'm thinking down here. I think I can do a better job of trimming it more square. Doesn't have to be perfectly square, but so I'm trimming it, trying to get it squared. It's just getting smaller and smaller. That's all right. That might be a good thing. Okay, I think that's going to work. Let's go ahead and glue that down. Okay, just kind of looking, and it might be interesting to have some kind of dark things over here. So I cut off this little section from behind here, and maybe if I cut this up, keep moving my scissors. So I'm going to use this, cut this up into 3 little pieces. I thought I was done with my glue stick and put that away too. There. Just dropping everything. This will just help kind of balance things out. So it repeats the dark value, it repeats the imagery. I'm just going to use some black ink. So the ink brings in some darker value that kind of matches some of the values in the image, but then by drawing on top of the collage, kind of helps kind of push it down into the piece a little bit more. Just seeing what I have. Actually, I think I want to use the silver. So I think with these little silver circles, little silver dots, just gonna go around with the black. Just that black ink will make that, make a nice contrast to the silver, make that silver pop out more. All right. I'm looking at it. I kind of feel like it's at a good stopping point, so I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And we'll call it finished. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed another little mixed media piece. Just coming here and creating something. I didn't really think about the meaning or the message behind it, but I think it kind of starts to give that message. The image, I looked at the image before I'd started, and so it kind of had that watery feel to it. So that's why I chose the colors that I did, that it kind of helped tie into that. But anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really appreciate you tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, make sure that you like and subscribe, and that way you'll never miss another video from me. And then if you really liked it, try sharing it. Share it on social media, share it with your friends, family, colleagues. Kind of helps spread the word. So really appreciate it. Anyway, please, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you next time. So thank you so much, and happy creating.